Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Archie Tech Experiment. I am your host, the one and only Archie Tech, yours truly. I do not have a guest today. I will be talking about my recovery, in particular, why I don't take maintenance or attend groups. People have been asking me why I don't take maintenance or do groups, and I usually just give a vague response like, I have beef with big pharma and I don't feel comfortable in groups. I don't really go too much into detail, but I am prepared to do that today. So to start off with maintenance, why don't I take maintenance? What do I have against big pharma? I think that big pharma is pushing poison on people, and let me just say, if you are on maintenance, I don't denounce it. I don't say that you should take steps to get off maintenance. I think that you should do whatever you need to do to maintain your sobriety, and I support everyone's recovery in whatever shape or form that may take. I think that to maintain sobriety is a very hard thing, and whatever tools that you have access to, take those tools and use those tools. But I will say that my own personal journey, I feel like I have a vendetta, I have a point to prove, and by not taking maintenance, I'm kind of taking my stand against big pharma, and that's what pushes me. That's one of the things that helps me maintain sobriety, and I will hope that people support me in my decision. I have had friends try to, get me to take Suboxone and say it'll prevent a slip, it'll save your life, and I get that, but this is my journey, and this is the path that I'm taking, and I'm very confident in my ability to remain sober without maintenance, and also giving a big fuck you to big pharma. I mean, we've all seen Dope Sick. We know that these corporations are practically getting away with murder. Meanwhile, small-time drug dealers are getting sentenced to life. They're getting lifetime prison sentences, while these big companies are pushing drugs legally, and they definitely helped the opioid epidemic. They definitely played a hand in that. So it's not just maintenance that I take a stand against. It's oxycodones, Percocets, anxiety pills. I think that they're pushing these drugs on children that are way too young. Kids are getting diagnosed with things that I think just for being a kid, just for doing things that kids do. They're getting diagnosed with things like ADHD and things like that, and it's a multi-billion-dollar business. So I think that doctors get incentive to diagnose people with things that they may not even have, and half the time, some of the symptoms of some of the side effects of the prescription drugs are worse than the actual disease or ailments that that they're prescribed to fight. So I won't take maintenance. I don't take anything for my sobriety. I look towards CBD. I take CBD to sleep. I take gummies to go to sleep at night, and I try to take a more holistic approach to my mental health, my mental state. And I tend to try to stay away from the medication that doctors prescribe. I don't trust doctors. I think that they have an agenda, and I think that they are backed by these big corporations. It's not a conspiracy theory. I think it's enough evidence there that we all could be in agreement that that's what's taking place. And I think it's a major disservice to the American people. With that said, to everyone that does depend on these drugs, they do save lives, and they do help. My beef is not with the individual person or even the the drugs per se, the medications, it's with the system. It's with a corrupt system that's using this to get a profit, and you know, it's just not fair. So that's kind of like my, you know what I mean, my cross to bear. I feel like is to maintain that and spread that message. Groups. The reason why I don't do groups is very personal, and I really have not up until this point felt comfortable with talking about it, because it is very taboo, and to you know, the thoughts that I have against groups are very taboo, and I think that not a lot of addicts will agree with this and may be offended, and it's not my goal to offend anybody. I don't want to offend anybody, but this is, you know, this is me. This is how I feel. And so I just ask that you keep an open mind and try to see things from my point of view, even if you know you don't fully agree. Just respect my opinion. So it's a handful of reasons why I don't do groups, why I don't like groups, why I don't feel comfortable in groups. I could, you know, I could use a whole hour talking about reasons and experiences why I don't do groups. But for the sake of time and data, I'm only gonna list 4 of the, I think, biggest reasons why I don't do groups. The first reason is that I think that in groups, every group that I've been to, they paint the drug dealer to be the villain of the story. They paint this picture like it's the drug dealer's fault. The drug dealer's a piece of shit. And I just have a different take on that. I mean, I have been a drug dealer. I've been on both sides. I've been a drug dealer. I've been a drug addict, you know. My journey has been full of ups and downs. I've been a good guy. I've been a bad guy. I've been a handful of things, but one thing that remains constant is I always learn from my mistakes, and I do try to be a better person. I do try to be a better person daily, and I do have a good heart. But it's not even that I take it personal when I'm in groups and they're, you know, trashing drug dealers and a piece of shit drug dealer and this and that. And when I hear these things, I don't take these things personal. I'm a very empathetic person. I'm able to put myself in someone's shoes before I make a decision about what they're saying. And it's just that doesn't align with not me on a personal level, but it doesn't align with my morals and my values. I just think that, you know, we're all people. People make mistakes, and you can't blame one side or the other. To me, it's both two sides of the same coin. And talking to somebody that has been on both sides of the fence, you know what I'm saying? Drug dealers, you know what I'm saying, may have the same addictive personality. They just express it in a different way. And I feel like that they get a very bad rap. It's very like war on drugs to me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's given like Ronald Reagan racist war on drug vibes, and it just makes me uncomfortable. I don't like that. It's a supply and demand. First of all, everybody makes choices. If you know what I'm saying, if you go looking for something, it's because you want to find it, right? So you can't really blame the person that has it, in my opinion, and paint that person out to be the bad guy. Also, it's just that they're both, in my opinion, they both hold more similarities than they do differences. It's a dangerous lifestyle on both sides of the board. Very fruitless on both sides of the board, you know, dead or in jail, both sides of the board, two-way street, you know what I'm saying? And it's like we know that certain circumstances lead people to do certain things. And so if you're saying that drug dealers are evil, but you know, have sold drugs to support your habit, is kind of very hypocritical to me. And I'm saying that from a personal experience that I had inside of a group where I heard a kid say that he sold drugs to support his habit, and kind of got like a, you know, like sympathy for that, like, oh, well, he was just selling drugs to support his habit. And then in the same story, put a drug dealer down as being like, you know, a terrible person for choosing the path that he chose. And I just feel like a little more compassion can be given to people on both sides of the boards, drug addicts and drug dealers alike. And again, I'm not saying this from a personal standpoint, but from a moral standpoint. You know, everybody lives and learns. So I don't like that in groups. It's very it's very much a common thing for drug dealers to be painted in a very bad way, in a very bad light, and kind of like put a lot of blame on them when it's a lifestyle just like not very different from using drugs. You know what I'm saying? It's a fast lifestyle, and the lifestyle can be addictive. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think any addict will tell you that, you know, it's not just the using of drugs that's addictive for them, but, you know, a certain route that they took to get it, you know, things that they do to get it, all that stuff becomes addictive. And I think for the drug dealer as well, you know, having fast money coming in and, you know, ducking cops and the whole thing is just a very dangerous and addicting lifestyle on both sides of the board. And I just think that a bit more compassion can be shown in those groups to people that chose to sell drugs, people who mostly felt like they didn't have a choice but to do that. And we know, you know, it's been documented, the Iran-Contra scandal, and, you know, that drugs were put into these communities, you know what I'm saying? So, and that's something that we know. It's not conspiracy theory, it's documented historical facts that the Reagan era war on drugs was a very racist. It was like a war on black people. So I just think that when I hear some of those things, it gives like very racist vibes for me, and it makes me very uncomfortable. The second reason why I don't really like going to groups, and this is more like IOP than NA and AA, but they'll like push prescription drugs on you. And again, it's my own personal experience where it was like they kept pushing these medications on me. And one of the things that I said when I first started was like, you know, I don't want to take any medication. That's my thing. I don't want any medication. If I'm gonna do this group with IOP, intense outpatient, I don't want to be on any medication. They said, well, that's not a stipulation to do any medication. But when I got in the group, at my intake, they told me like, well, it's not stipulated that you have to be on medication. But once I started the group, it was like, you take some medication. And I'm like, we said in the beginning I wasn't going to take any medication. So they kept trying to get me to take medication, and eventually, you know what I'm saying, I started taking something for depression that ruined my appetite, and I'm already skinny as it is, and I started losing weight, and I'm like, I'm not feeling this, I'm not taking it. No more medication. No more medication. I'm not doing this anymore. Okay, no medication. Long story short, they tried to get me on some other medication. And I think that kind of ties into, big pharma having a big grip on these things, you know what I'm saying, and pushing these medications, and then in turn they push these on patients. And I remember talking to the doctor and saying, like, they didn't even know what type of side effects this stuff would have. They're like, take this for a week or two, and if you don't like it, we'll try this. It's like, what? No, I didn't sign up to be experimented on. You know what I'm saying? I do the experimenting around here. I'm not getting experimented on. Like, if you're not sure that this is gonna work for this, then let's not do it. Why are we trying it if we're not sure it's gonna work? So that's another reason that was like a big red flag for me. It's like, I don't have a beef with the clinicians and the nurses. You know what I mean? I think that those are two very selfless jobs and two very thankless positions. I think not enough I don't think that they're paid enough. I think that they get into that field with great intentions, and I do respect the clinicians and the nurses. It's the system I have a problem with. Just like I don't have a beef with people that take maintenance, and people that, you know what I'm saying, and recovery that really use it to maintain sobriety, because it does save lives and it does help keep people clean. And I think that clinicians get into, doing what they do to help people genuinely, and I really do respect that. But it's the system that they're in is corrupt, and very bad things, I think, come from that. Like, if you think about what's our favorite plot in the movie, right? You got a cop, rookie, is like, I'm gonna be a cop to, you know what I mean, change things. I'm gonna be a great cop. And then, like, think Training Day, and then they start doing things, you know what I'm saying? One wrong move here, one wrong move there. And next thing you know, when you're in a corrupt system, any work that you do inside of that system is tainted. You understand? So I think that, like, lawyers in college, they, you know what I mean, they're like, oh, down with the man. I'm gonna get in here, I'm gonna do great, I'm gonna make changes, I'm gonna change things. And then they get in there, and then they realize that they have to conform to the system, because that's how the system is built. You know what I mean? No one person is gonna change a whole system that's been in place for that long. That's why it's been in place for that long. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna take a lot of work and dedication to get the changes that we need to happen. So again, my beef is not with the clinicians or the nurses. I think they're wonderful people, but I think that very dirty work gets done through them. And the third reason is, like, they tell you your recovery is your own, everybody's recovery is different, but then they give you, like, this blanket curriculum for everybody. They give everyone the same handouts, the same work, AA, NA, they give you the same steps. Like, that's not everyone, that it's not gonna work for everyone. And by God's grace, for the people that it does work for, I do not denounce it. If it's working for you, then keep doing that. Continue what you have to do to maintain your sobriety. I'm just saying why it doesn't work for me and what doesn't sit well with me about these things. It's like they'll tell you to do your recovery, but then put these, like, blanket rules on you, things that you shouldn't and should do, and, like, you know what I'm saying? And, like, one of my biggest pet peeves is for someone to try to influence my decision. If you try to influence my decision, I will probably do the opposite just to prove a point. You know what I'm saying? So they'll be like, this is a trigger for you. And I'm like, no, no, it's not. How would you even know that? You don't even know me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm coming here to this group, so like, you don't know me well. And saying that too, you do develop kind of a bond with the clinicians and the therapists. Like, so it's not to say like they don't know you, but like, you know what I'm saying? It's like pump your brakes a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't tell me the inner workings of my own mind. You don't know what's gonna trigger me. So you can't give me this handout and say like, you know what I mean? Do this, stay away from this. You don't know. I remember being in a group and a girl that was in the group was like, I've been thinking about getting back with my boyfriend. And instantly everyone in the group was like, no, don't do that. That's a bad idea. And it's like, first of all, we don't know her boyfriend. He's not here to defend himself. You know what I'm saying? How do we know that's not good for her? We don't know that. And I'm not gonna just, you know, I'm not one to do that. I don't make decisions with, you know what I mean, a minimal amount of information. I try to gather as much information that I can and then make an educated decision. So I'm not gonna tell this girl that she shouldn't get back with her boyfriend because I don't know her. First of all, I don't know him. You know, I don't know anything about the relationship. And then in two, they got this rule with like, if you're in recovery, stay single for a year. Now that I think pertains to me. And I think that the universe is making that very clear for me. But I know a couple that were in active addiction together for a long time and got clean together. Not one person was in one area and another person was in another area and they stayed in a relationship. No, they were together throughout the whole thing, active addiction and now in recovery. And they've been in recovery for about 16 months. That worked for them to stay together. They didn't have to be single to recover. And so I just think that, you know, this whole blanket, this whole idea that, you know, this one size fits all idea and all these like rules that they have, I just don't like that. I think that everyone's recovery is unique and different, and people need to figure out for themselves and look into themselves and like with maybe a little bit of help from someone outside, but not with like someone telling you what will work for you and what you need to do to get there. And the fourth thing and reason is probably the biggest reason why I stay away from groups, and that's hookups. Like, they'll tell you, again, going back to my last point, they'll tell you stay single for a year, but in these groups where there's guys and girls, there's very big potential, especially newly recovered. Like, if you're an IOP and you're newly recovered, you're very vulnerable and very receptive to you know, the opposite sex, obviously. And so there's like very big chances that you're gonna hook up. And I think that for me personally, it would be better if I stayed away from that. And again, the universe is making it very clear that I do need to stay single for a while, and I hate that. I do. That I don't like it, but I do know that it's necessary. Well, last time I was in a group, I hooked up with two of the girls that was in the group on different times, and I know myself. You know what I'm saying? That's like probably one of my biggest weaknesses is women. So it is probably important for me to stay to myself for a while. As much as I don't like it, I do see, you know what I'm saying, I do see a need for it. And so I try to stay away from groups for that reason, because I know myself. And when I moved away from my hometown and I got clean in a different state, and I tried to go to a group, I went one time, and I literally locked eyes with the girl that would have ruined my life again. And I remember this. Walk in, I see her, and I'm like, yep, that's her. That's gonna be the one. And I didn't go back, not just because of her, but because I don't like groups and I don't think that they work for me. So I came back, and I remember telling my aunt, I'm like, I don't think I want to do that. I don't think I want to go back to those groups. And I think she was a little worried. Like she was like why, but she trusted me, and she was like, well, if that's not what you want to do, then what I'm saying, we'll keep what I'm saying looking. And I was fresh, and I was probably like 2 weeks clean, still kind of feeling weak. What I'm saying. So yeah, and now I'm at 153 days clean and no groups. So I think that I made the right decision. But with all that being said, though, I want to tell a quick story, because on the flip side of things, I'm not just going to sit here and bash groups without giving a little perspective. My experiences with groups weren't all bad. Some good did come from groups. It did help me stay clean for about 8 months last year before my relapse. So I went to the hospital. It was my girlfriend at the time. We both had this great idea to go to the emergency room, and because we had been trying to get clean and it was not working out, so we had this great idea. Let's go to the hospital and tell them that we feel suicidal separately, like not us together, but we'll go in separately and tell them that we want to kill ourselves so that we get sent to the psych ward and we can't leave, right? Genius, problem solved. We won't be able to leave, and they'll give us medication to help with the withdrawals. Everything's all good. So don't you love it when a plan comes together, right? She goes in first. She tells them that she wants to kill herself. They immediately put her up there in the psych ward. I come in a little bit behind her. I tell them I want to kill myself. They're not going for it. They're like, no, you're not. You're just sick. And we'll let you sit here for a little while, but get out of here. Long story short, I ended up staying there for 3 days because I was not leaving, sick, not doing it, no way. They had people coming to talk to me, and I was telling all of them, like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving here. And they're like, you can't stay here. They even had people from programs come try to talk to me, like, we'll take you. And at first, one of them, I'm like, all right, I'm about to get my stuff together. They're like, we can get you a ride in the morning. But by the morning, I'm like, you know what? Nope, I'm not doing it. It's not happening. I'm not going. So the weirdest thing happened, right? It was this lady. She was a clinician, and she worked for a program that was through the hospital. This prettiest lady. I remember like it was yesterday. I'm laying there. I'm not in good shape. Mad at the world. I'm like, if one more person tries to bring me food, or they did give me some comfort meds. So I was like, I was not like terrible, but I was not in good shape. And she comes in the room. She took a different approach than the rest of them did, which was like, and I didn't say that I was homeless at the time. And well, let me just clarify, I was on the streets, because my family will get mad at me if I say that I was homeless. I was, by choice, I was living on the street. Good, because I get embarrassed, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want nobody seeing me like that. I disappear. Just that's my thing. That's what I do. Anyway, she comes in, she takes a different approach than everybody else, and she's like, I have a program. Maybe you should, if you leave and you stay clean, you could come to this program. It'll really help you out. And I tell her, I'm like, lady, I don't care how pretty you are. I don't do groups, and I don't do well with in that type of environment. I'm very shy, very quiet. I don't do well. She's talking to me about it. She's like, it's a very small group. I only take a certain amount of people. You'll be coming 3 times a week. It's intense outpatient. And long story short, she even helped me like start processing things. And I started thinking like, wait, I do have somewhere to go. People do love me. Let me, reach out to a couple people. And my best friend came to pick me up, and I stayed with her for a while I was going to IOP. And that program really did help me. It really did. It did wonders. But again, I did not always feel comfortable, and I'm not really the best at I'm not argumentative at all, so I don't really voice my opinion. Especially if I don't see it benefiting both sides, I just won't. You know what I'm saying? And it didn't seem like. And another reason why I don't like groups, people are not receptive to opposing ideas. It's just not. You know what I'm saying? It's not that type of atmosphere. So I don't like being in places like that. You know what I'm saying? It gives big jail vibes for me. You know what I'm saying? Where people are stuck in that one and they don't want to hear anything different. So, because I'm very open-minded, like I'm able to hear an opinion that's different from mine. And if the information makes sense, I will change my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just how I am. But so I do get uncomfortable around people that are not the same way, and I'm not argumentative. I don't like arguing. I'm not gonna try to change it. I'm not gonna try to change your mind if you're set on it not being changed. Think what you want to think. It doesn't really bother me any. So those groups did help me maintain sobriety for some months. They kept trying to push those drugs on me, which pissed me off. I did hook up with those two girls that was in the group. That definitely happened. That probably was not for the best. And also, I started working. I got a job. I did not want to. I was probably the longest person in IOP in the history of IOP. I stayed in IOP probably for like 6 months, and I was not supposed to be in IOP that long. If you know anything about intense outpatient, it's not a long-term thing, and I just didn't feel comfortable with leaving. And I knew that I was not ready to leave, and that's another thing that I have against these kind of groups is I kind of, which is probably not like a group problem, it's more probably like a me problem because I'm so institutionalized from prison that I don't like any change in my routine. So when I stopped going to these groups, it kind of threw me a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And then I started working, and they kind of like tried to give me an ultimatum. Like, you can either cut your hours at work to make it to groups, or we're gonna have to let you go. And me, big Leo energy, I don't do well with ultimatums, so I'm like, all right, well, fuck you guys then, you know what I'm saying? I thought I was a big boy and I thought I could do it on my own, but it was not long. I had like maybe 2 slips while I was in IOP, and then it was after I left the groups is when I relapsed, I think in September or October of last year, and I was active until February 25th is when I left my hometown and came here, and now I've been clean since. So that's my story. I hope it answers some questions, because I don't like bash people that are on maintenance. I just don't think that is for me. I take a stand against it, and fuck big pharma, and I don't do groups. Those are my reasons. I have more reasons too, but those are like the biggest reasons for why I do not attend groups. That's pretty much it. Make sure you guys tune in. I have a very big surprise coming up. I'm gonna do a birthday episode. I want everybody to tune in for that. So make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss it. Also, this weekend I will be getting interviewed by a special guest host. It's still the same show, but I'm giving my show up in order to be interviewed. I'm gonna be being interviewed about my prison experiences, why I went to jail, the length of time that I was in jail. If you have anything in particular that you want to know, inbox me or call me or text me or leave a comment here, and we're working into the questions. I'll let the guest host know and see if they'll work it into the questions, because this is what I'm doing. If I'm doing it for you guys, also for me, it's kind of therapeutic for me too, but mostly for you guys. So tune in next week. As always, I want you guys to love each other and be kind to each other and show compassion to each other, whether it's a drug dealer or a drug addict or a homeless person or a rich person. Love everyone and be kind to everyone. No one's better than anyone. We're all here. We're all trying to figure this out together. I love you guys. Salute.